What is good, YouTube? Electron here, back with another video. Today I'm going to be collabing with Comic Kage, which consists of Drip Sauce, Exility, Awaken, and Clorox, and debunking Surfbone's shitty ass Dragon Ball downplaying video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We had a lot of fun making this video, so yeah, and this shitty ass nigga Surfbone didn't debunk shit at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Also, I'll be doing cast requests.
This article, as we go on to learn, is essentially just a technical illustrator or journalist who's not even associated with Toei under any circumstances, that basically just wrote an article for them about him just being curious about how time travel and timelines work, so that he would better understand the series for himself.
So what was being entailed here is that there was an interviewer with the staff team of Dragon Ball, which does have ties to Toei Animation. Professor Futomase confirm how the timelines work within Dragon Ball.
Not only that, but he says he's not associated or has no ties to Toei or Dragon Ball, yet the site he's on is literally the official Dragon Ball website.
And not to mention, this website itself is also pretty much licensed and approved by Shueisha and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
it's literally the official site for it.
I mean, it doesn't really mean anything because of the simple fact that the Dragon Ball website, like being official and all that shit, doesn't mean that the content inside of a specific article has necessarily something to do with Dragon Ball or its applicability inside of the cosmology. I don't really think that is the point.
But this one...
That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that it's the article itself, and is just a journalist trying to understand it himself, and this journalist in question has no ties to anything Dragon Ball related.
Yeah, you know the problem with Surfbone? Because this nigga Surfbone just said that this nigga was asking a question because he wanted to understand the way time machine and stuff work inside of Dragon Ball. So if he's explaining all of that with the intention of understanding how it works in Dragon Ball, he's automatically entailing and implying that in the same way that he's describing it, it also works in Dragon Ball. Yeah. He's saying, he's basically saying, like, I'm gonna go back a few seconds.
For any circumstances, that basically just wrote an article for them about him just being curious about how time travel and timelines work, so that he would better understand the series for himself.
He understand the series for himself. And in the article we see we will see this later on, but in the article we see the explanations for that. So he's literally just considering the fact that this nigga, like, what he's gonna say is gonna apply inside of the Dragon Ball cosmology.
Is that he ends up talking to an actual professor in astrophysics and is like a cosmologist that specializes in general relativity and cosmology, and who has only read Jump comics through Dragon Ball serialization. So the guy being interviewed isn't an actual authority on Dragon Ball. He's just making his own conclusions based off of what he's seeing within Dragon Ball, and also answering the interviewer's questions along the way.
Why will they put him on the official Dragon Ball website? Why will they make an article if that is just a random nigga having nothing to do with Dragon Ball or with its properties, you know, like creation or that shit? Like, why will they do that? If it's just a random dude making his own conclusions about that shit, to me it doesn't make sense.
Because the article got published, obviously, to the official Dragon Ball website.
Exactly. Yeah, so Surfbone's already entailing an absurdity within his argumentation.
And also, why, me, as a Dragon Ball fan, why would I even need such an article in the official Dragon Ball site? If it's not even applying to the cosmology, why would I even read that? Can I just go, like, can I not just go into any other website that actually talks about physics and how this stuff works in the real life, in real world? I can just go there. So why should I care, me as a Dragon Ball fan, why should I care about this? Why should I read it on the Dragon Ball official site? Why?
Well, the thing is that Surfbone answers this question himself, right? He says it's for, to understand how time travel works in the series. Right. In context of the series.
Yeah, because
and he says this professor, who is a professional cosmologist, and, like basically studies cosmology and astrophysics, right? He derives his own conclusion, given the certain series, on how what would work or not work in context to time travel, or how it would be possible.
Yes, exactly.
So if the authors of Dragon Ball, Yo, Dripsus, if the authors of Dragon Ball were to disagree with what they've saying, what they've been saying the whole time in this interview, why will they post it? If they think it's wrong and it doesn't apply to the cosmology, why will you post it there?
Yeah, if something is wrong, and if it's some random dude drawing his own conclusions regarding the Dragon Ball verse, then why would they post this article on the official Dragon Ball website and bring up scans in context of Dragon Ball, extrapolate information from those scans to represent to readers for information?
Yeah, so his first point was basically trying to assert that this is just a interviewer that has no ties to Dragon Ball officially, right? Even though this was posted on the original Dragon Ball website, and the astrophysicist in question is trying to conclude how time travel works in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, with staff, by the way.
I'm convinced that people like Surfbone and Pinoypins are just paid to downplay Dragon Ball.
Travel through time could also be really simple. So how does time travel work for us in the real world, if at all?
Bro, why is he emphasizing in the real world like it has any consequence in context to Dragon Ball? I feel like he emphasized in the real world so it kind of creates some kind of contrasting element.
I think he's trying to say that since it does not mention Dragon Ball, then there is no evidence to support the claim that it's also applicable to Dragon Ball.
Just wait.
My bad. Applicable to Dragon Ball.
Yeah, just wait.
We took a deep dive into the mechanics of time machines and time travel, as well as the conditions required to make them possible, all in service of understanding the original series and that much more.
Well, good job.
It's so contradicting yourself because it's written in the first sentence. How does time travel work for us in the real world if at all? And then it says, we took a deep dive into the mechanics of time machine and time travel as well as the conditions required to make them possible, all in service of understanding the original series that much more. He's literally saying we're gonna understand how it's gonna work in the real world, so we're gonna understand how it works in Dragon Ball. This nigga's stupid.
Yeah, and the conditions required to make them possible.
Yeah.
This is actually called a conflicting conditions for a new audience here. A conflicting conditions is when the argumentation is self-contradictory and cannot be true. So yeah, this is what Surfbone is doing right now.
Yeah, so basically he's implying, is that he's saying that him explaining time travel, like for this whole article, is in reference to the real world and not Dragon Ball, because he emphasized real world when the person in question was asking it, and then he then contradicted himself by saying that all of this is just to find out what conditions make it possible, and why are you doing that? To understand the original series in context to they're talking about the time travel that Trunks is using.
Right. The complexity of time travel. Remember, guys, the conditions required to make them possible, all in service of understanding the original series that much more. All right, you can unpause it.
The complexity of time travel left me scratching my head, and I was struck by a newfound appreciation for the genius Bulma, demonstrated by overcoming all the obstacles and creating a fully functional time machine. But let's get to all of that in chronological order.
So they're literally claiming that Bulma was able to overcome all the obstacles that you will normally have with time traveling. So he's literally saying time travel works in the same way and it's gonna give you the same paradoxes, but of course Bulma is a fucking genius, and that's why she was able to overcome all the obstacles that you will normally have with time machine, like with the time travel.
This goes beyond conflicting conditions, bro. This is fucking terrible. This is the worst I've ever seen from Surfbone ever.
Just a deductively invalid. Oh, I don't even want to get to that. That's overkill. Just go on.
So let's clarify real quick. First, Surfbone claimed that this guy had nothing to do with Toy or anything Dragon Ball related. He was just a random dude drawing a random conclusion, and then after that we really see the opposite, the contrary happening, him being interviewed by staff and him being put on the Dragon Ball website, which is licensed by Toei Animations and licensed by Shueisha, directly conflicting with that initial claim. And then after that he proceeds to read off on how this would directly correlate to Dragon Ball. He directly read off in the third paragraph, we took a deep dive into the mechanics of time machines and time travel, as well as the conditions required to make them possible.
Because I'm sending this scan.
Okay, I'll show the group chat. Yeah, this scan right here.
There's one thing. It's working
hold
out.
on,
No,
hold
look,
on.
That's literally the evidence that physics and all of that shit is basically equal to real life.
Yo, so if you guys didn't know, if you guys,
Hold on.
yes,
No, hey, one more thing. Hold on.
there's another one.
Thing.
Send the other one I sent.
Just capitalizing off of what you said, right? So basically, he was trying to say that the time travel that they're talking about, he's implying that it's in reference to real life and not Dragon Ball, right? But one thing that he forgot to talk about is that these same complexities that he was talking about are the ones that he directly says Bulma overcomes to make the time machine. Because for the real world at all, I sat down with cosmologist Professor Baba, Japanese guy of Tokyo, and asked him just that. We took a deep dive into the mechanics of time mechanics and time travel, as well as the conditions required to make them possible. Then he says the complexities of time travel left me scratching my head, which is in reference to the conditions required to make them possible and the mechanics of time machines, right? And those things are in reference to the consequence of the sentence. He says, and I was struck by a newfound appreciation for the genius Bulma demonstrating by overcoming all of the obstacles and creating a fully functional time machine.
Right.
How
All
will Bulma do that? By overcoming the mechanics of time machines as well as the conditions required to make them possible.
Look, if you guys check here, this was in Dragon Ball, by the way. This in context of the time machine, it has theories and formulas to skip time and not practice in this age yet.
That is crazy if you ask me. And you can still, you can still see the shit about, like the time and space warping, on the left page of that book.
Yeah, that's directly correlates to general relativity on how the time machine would warp space and time. And literally on the right, we can see the topological entailments of quantum wave functions, which in this context would have to logically necessitate many worlds interpretation, as this is literally a parallel world transporter that transports people across parallel worlds. But not only does this debunk all of Surfbone's argumentation, which is self-contradictory, but if I extrapolate more on how big of a deal this is and everybody ignoring it, wave functions in context to parallel worlds, time machines refer to mathematical representations of possible states that a system can be in. Quantum mechanics wave functions describe the probability distribution of a particle or system being in a certain state. In the concept of parallel world time machines, which is Bulma's time machine, it is often envisioned that different timelines or parallel universes exist alongside our own. These parallel worlds could have different past, present, future time machines. In this context, it will allow for travel between these parallel worlds or time periods. Quantum wave functions can be used to describe the possibilities and outcome of such time travel. They represent the potential states that a system can occupy in different timelines or universes. The wave function can be thought of as superposition of all these possible states, with each state having its own being realized innumerably. So not only does this prove that Dragon Ball has quantum mechanics, this verbatim proves, in conjunction with the website, that Dragon Ball actually structures itself under many worlds interpretation.
Specifically, is so he can better understand the series for himself by wondering how time travel would actually work in the real world, if it would at all.
What he's saying is that he's going to this professor, right, to understand the series by wondering how time works in the real world. Wondering or questioning how time will work in the real world doesn't automatically equate to understanding the series, nor does it entail you understanding the series, right? Questioning something doesn't mean you have an automatic understanding. It actually means the opposite. It actually means you're trying to elicit information that you do not have, right?
Exactly.
So his proposition is self-defeating. It cannot exist.
Yeah, again, more of...
Yeah, so basically,
Go ahead, Drip.
what I was going to say is there's 2 points. Yeah, thanks, bro. So there's 2 points I want to make. First of all, is that what he's saying is completely ridiculous, because why would he come to understand time travel about the real world on the official Dragon Ball website talking to Professor Fudamase, right? What's the point of talking about it when there's Dragon Ball?
We made the question already. Like we made the point already.
Yeah, we made that question already.
Oh yeah, and again, another thing that's like ridiculous is the fact that, what was I gonna say again? I think it's literally inconsequential to Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball literally follows real life time travel like mechanics, as you can see in the scans.
Yeah.
So
And even beyond that, yeah.
it's literally not. It's a non-defeater.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this statement would also be implying that, right? Like these sets of dialogue saying, "Oh, how does it work?" And he said this is all insane. Serious. Cerbone says, he's going to him to understand by asking something, which doesn't make logical sense.
Yeah. It would just lead to absurdity. How does a time machine work? This is very fucking important. When talking about
That is the most important thing.
this is literally the most important thing that this nigga is skipping past.
The way the time machine operates is literally subject to the laws of space and time.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's empirical.
So it is the most important thing.
And when we go back, we see Bulma space-time diagram and the fucking particle fluctuations, as well as the wave functions, which is literally inherently in conjunction with many worlds within the fucking anime, within her notes on how the time machine works and interacts with space.
Yeah, and this is further backed up by what Trunks explains in both the anime and manga regarding the parallel worlds, which is funny enough. This is after you scroll down as well.
I just want you to look at the table of contents very quick, right?
Yeah.
Because Cerbone was again asserting that time travel is only, like, the way that they're discussing time travel is an only reference to real life but not Dragon Ball. But literally what they're going over are chapters in Dragon Ball. Like, I know you see the scan below.
Yeah.
But there's also, it's saying that they're talking about Goku's instant transmission. Like, Goku is not real, right? He's not a real person.
Yeah, and this is also, like, again, this is in context on how it's possible for this to work. All right, this is in context of how it's nomologically possible for these to function within this verse. And understanding which Dragon Ball put on the website. So the table of contents says, how does a time machine work? Negative mass, which correlates to bosonic string theory. The ticket to going beyond the speed of light and back in time. Parallel worlds and time paradoxes. Does Goku's instant transmission. The whole point of this, right, on the Dragon Ball website is to give the readers a better understanding of how time machines on parallel worlds function within Dragon Ball.
It's actually really funny.
Because he
It's
just,
actually really
It's
funny.
literally dependent. It's dependent on its functionality.
yeah,
So
so
skipping
and
over that
Electron-
is
him showing this.
Electron, you mentioned, Electron, you mentioned something interesting. Like, it's actually really funny. I always forget about this, but the Dragon Ball official website actually mentions, like, negative mass, which is inherent to bosonic string theory.
Go back a little bit.
Yo.
Go back a little bit.
Yes.
We're gonna go over what he skipped. Okay, now let's read it.
Now that we hopefully got at least a vague understanding of how time machines could work, I decided to ask about parallel worlds and time paradoxes. Time paradoxes occur when some kind of contradiction or loop is created due to your travels to and from the past and the future. And in order to enable time travel, we will have to find a way to resolve them. Even within Dragon Ball, Trunks altered his universe history slightly by going back to the past to discover the android weakness. It's this process that gives rise to multiple features, i.e. parallel worlds.
I was thinking if Trunks does go to the past and destroy the androids, what's going to happen to the androids in the present? Are they going to disappear? Oh, that's right. The future of that timeline would be safe from the androids. But there'd be no change in this timeline where the androids already exist.
Already exist.
What do you mean? Okay, for example, your Goku's life was saved by the medicine I brought from the future, but in my timeline, Goku still died from the disease. That's because it's a different parallel world.
Which they end up showing how, like, it being explained in the series.
In other words, there's both a future.
Oh, wait, hold on, wait.
Oh.
Wait. Run it back what Cerbone said.
It's both. He just said it's explained in the series. Okay, bro, you're gonna. Wait.
Well, I don't think that we need this. Like, just let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah,
right?
what the hell does he have to say? Because
Yeah, go.
Yeah, because the whole time he said a whole bunch of nothing. The only thing that he
You're
said
the one
was at the
with the
beginning.
keyboard. Press the button.
yeah.
Oh my god. Anyways, what he said at the beginning was basically that these guys have no actual correlation with Dragon Ball and all of that shit. That's the actual only single point that he made. He didn't make any actual defeater
Yeah, he didn't, by the way.
The thing, the defeaters are the ones that he made themselves.
Like, oh yeah, he said, he also said that like, oh, it only applies to real life and not to Dragon Ball. Yeah, besides those 2 points, he didn't make any. So I just want to listen to him.
Yeah, which
I want to hear what he has to say.
We already debunked him.
yeah, which we already
Come on, hurry.
debunked. He fucking committed conflicting conditions.
Okay, let's read. The concept of parallel worlds originates from the study of quantum mechanics. It says that at this moment there are infinite universes that exist and each one of them contains one you. So if there were, say, 10 universes, then you will simultaneously exist in all of them. Simply by recognizing I'm here, the universe around you manifests. This was what is known as the many worlds interpretation.
But this is the quantum fluctuations, right? Which directly correlates this left one of how particles react in context to many worlds interpretation. This is topologically being entailed within her notes for building a time machine, and in conjunction with the parallel worlds branching and new parallel worlds being created, that would entail innumerable branching in context to many worlds interpretation of events being changed. Yeah, directly.
This is one of the things that Bulma would have to overcome, right? Or the equation needed to overcome the possibility of making a time machine.
Yeah, so
or the complications that would come with the complexities of making.
Yeah, so directly
she
from
would
that,
obviously need to understand quantum fluctuation.
Yeah, so directly from that, we can literally infer that there is an infinite amount of universes in Dragon Ball, which I'll be going over.
Oh yeah, and this is also entailed in other guidebooks as well, such as the RPG guidebook, I believe the Android Saga. So this is further making this consistent.
There is something that you guys are probably missing, but basically for the master says the concept of parallel worlds originates from the study of quantum mechanics. So basically if parallel worlds exist inside of Dragon Ball, then that's the equivalent of saying that since they originate from quantum mechanics, so in Dragon Ball they are originated from quantum mechanics as well. Therefore quantum mechanics has to be there, because there is no other justification for the existence of parallel worlds. The only justification for its existence, yeah, and I'm saying the condition, like the only thing that we have is basically quantum mechanics. And in Dragon Ball there is no other additional statement about its origin. And what do we do specifically in power scaling? We use the false assumption. So that is another justification, another reason why you should think that quantum mechanics actually exists in Dragon Ball. Yeah, not only because you have the evidence, but so you don't have any contradiction, but also because it's the default assumption when you have the evidence inside of your, in the palm of your hand.
Exactly. And that's excluding the fucking verbatim empirical evidence within her notes for constructing the time machine. But what you said is absolutely correct. So let's see what Serpent has to say.
I'm here. The universe already around you manifests. This is what's known as the many worlds interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing is based off of the interviewer asking him what the latest parallel world research was and where the idea came from. And that's what the interviewer is asking. This is not in regards to actual Dragon Ball, as some people have led you to believe.
What?
Because not in this one, which we'll read as well. So you're saying there are multiple universes, and that the universe in which you assert I'm here becomes a fixed as your universe. And then the professor says, we're living in a reality built on the multitude of universes that are constantly being spawned with every decision we make. Assuming you travel to the past, you wouldn't be in the past of this universe, which is the result of the accumulation of decisions made by its inhabitants, but a completely different one, in other words, a parallel universe. That reasoning allows us to resolve the paradoxes that accompany time machines.
Boom.
This is in regards to our universe, right? Like our real world. Because in the next one, they then ask, so in Dragon Ball, the future where androids run rampant and the one where they are destroyed, where they're defeated, are actually completely separate universes. It's like, that's right. If you successfully traveled to the past, then attempted to return back to that point in time you started from, the universe you arrived to would not be your original one, but a parallel world where you had traveled to the past. You'd essentially be in a new universe with a different history.
The universe you arrived to will not be your original one, but a parallel world where you had traveled to the past. You will essentially be in a new universe with a different history. Okay, now let's see what happens in Dragon Ball.
We're definitely both Trunks, but the history we walk is completely different. I've never seen such a beautiful scenery in my childhood.
Because the history walked on was different.
because the
So
history.
therefore, different universe equals to a different history. What does Prof. Budamaza say here? But a parallel world where you had traveled to the past, you essentially be in a new universe with a different history. So this scheme that you have in this video, like my bad, in this website, is literally the same thing of how it works in Dragon Ball.
And
It's literally the same.
I'm back. It's just like Exodi said earlier. He's trying to say that he's trying to say that it works in real life this way and not in Dragon Ball this way. But literally, they're learning how it works in real life and applying it to the series because it's been shown many times to follow what the professor is saying, right?
And
they're directly tying it back to the series.
Yes, this is
the diagram in question is even referencing the scans shown about how different histories and infinite parallel worlds work.
Yeah, so
or basically where they stem from, which is many worlds, because the concept of many worlds derives from quantum mechanics, and the specific context that he uses parallel worlds follows many worlds.
Yeah, so do you think deductive logic, it would result in a logical contradiction to deny this conclusion? Because one, the concept of parallel worlds originates from quantum mechanics. Two, Dragon Ball includes the concept of parallel worlds. Therefore, Dragon Ball Parallel Worlds originates from quantum mechanics. If you're going to deny the conclusion that Dragon Ball Parallel Worlds doesn't originate from quantum mechanics, that would entail a contradiction, and thus would be logically impossible to assert. So it would have to be that Dragon Ball Parallel Worlds originates from quantum mechanics. Yeah, it's the only possible way that it could be derived.
Okay, another particular thing that I would like to point out is how, like, it's an interesting question. So, the point is that you guys know the difference between nomological possibilities and logical possibilities, right?
Of course.
So my question, my question is my question is this one, right? So basically, trying to say that Dragon Ball doesn't follow the same type of of parallel universe, it doesn't follow quantum mechanics and all of that stuff, will be assuming that basically there are other possible physical ways to have parallel universe without the need of quantum mechanics or without the need of the many world interpretation, right?
Mind you, which he doesn't specify at all.
Yeah, but okay, but this is the assumption, right? So he's assuming that there are other ways, other physical ways to do that. Because if it were to be true, the assumption that actually in reality, the only way to have all of those universes, right, is by having quantum mechanics, it will be a logical necessity. Yeah. So basically, a logical necessity is something that is always true in every possible world. So basically, all of the possible worlds are possible only because they have the quantum mechanics down, right? Because they have the many world interpretation. So the same way, it means that inside of Dragon Ball, but actually that will be equal for all the type of animes, manga, like all the type of comics and stuff. It will automatically mean that every single time that you have time travel or parallel universe in that opera, you also have quantum mechanics.
The universe
it literally correlates to having many worlds because that's what the professor says earlier.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, is it a physical necessity, so it depends case by case and you can also have different physical laws, or is it a logical necessity? That is also an interesting question. The Sorbonne is not even considering because of his dishonesty, because he just wants to debunk Dragon Ball.
Yeah, okay, so anyways, what is being described in this graph, the consequence would directly correlate to an innumerable amount of branching within the context of parallel worlds.
This is once again supported by what Trunks explains in both the manga and anime. Trunks literally says, in other words, there's both a future in which Goku has died and which one, and blah blah, and these paths create new futures as well. This further backs up the graph. So once again, more supporting substantiation for all this.
Yeah, parallel world where you had traveled to the past, you'd essentially be in a new universe with a different history.
Yeah.
Now,
is it too fast?
This is the cosmologist's theory about exactly what happens, and then says, just to clarify, even if you never stepped foot in a time machine, the decision you make from moment to moment spawn universes precisely. And this is just reference to our universe. But yeah, this demonstration is clearly far different.
What? This is just ad nauseum.
I think that we don't need to focus on what he just said because. Wait. I'm saying I don't think we need to actually focus about this because exactly. So that's what I wanted to say. My bad.
Yeah, we already addressed that.
And what is presented here, because this is how the writer is in regards to how Dragon Ball works, and then how our real world deals with parallel universes. Now, this is just only speculation, and a theory about how parallel worlds would.
Wait. Okay, so he just said that there is a difference between the Dragon Ball and the IRL. But the point is that after the IRL discussion, after the presupposed IRL explanation, which is by the way, yes, an IRL explanation, but what we're saying, right, is that you can also apply it to Dragon Ball. But why? Because after the explanation,
the point in the first place.
Wait.
After no, that's not what I want to say because we said that already. What I want to say is basically that because after the explanation of the IRL part, they came to the conclusion. So in Dragon Ball, the future Wajen droids. So this nigga is basically asking a question based upon what Prophet Amasa told him before. So he's taking what he told him in the past, and he's applying it to the question.
Exactly.
He was asking how he wants to understand how time travel would possibly work in context or understanding the series in context to time travel.
Yeah.
That is the entire point.
Exactly.
That's why they're indistinguishable,
Yeah.
not only in this context, but also just objectively.
Yeah. It's not speculation. It's not broad speculation or like complete conjecture of what he's trying to make it. They're literally cognizing the only possible ways nomologically that this could be entailed within Dragon Ball, and this was literally stated in the very beginning where Surfbone committed conflicting conditions. So you can unpause this.
Yeah, wait. But like Clorox, imagine that me and you are having a conversation, and then you explain me something about your mom, for example, right? So then after the conversation with you, I say, oh, so that is why this, and that. When I say, oh, so this is why, I'm basically telling you, logically speaking, right? I'm basically telling you that everything that you just said to me is the reason why, and that is why I'm making a conclusion. That is why I'm deducing it, because I'm using the terminology so. So because of this, you have all of the explanation with Futamase, and then the other dude is concluding, oh, so because of all this shit that you just explained to me, that is why in Dragon Ball the future where the androids run rampant and blah 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 blah. And then of course he's asking that sentence in the form of a question because he's not sure of it, and of course he's checking for the confirmation from Professor Futamase.
Exactly.
Yeah, so logically speaking, they're literally implying that the explanation before this is literally applicable to Dragon Ball.
Yeah, so yeah.
And that is why the android is nigga
Yeah, so yeah, the question previously, when Professor Futamase gave his explanation on how that would be possible, then he asked the question, so in Dragon Ball the future androids run rampant and when they're defeated, are they actually completely separate universes, all of which was in context previously.
But we don't actually have evidence to suggest that this is actually how it is. That's why it's called the many worlds interpretation.
Because we address it, blah blah blah. Because these niggas Southbourne does not know this shit. He does not know what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is just us debunking his point.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we not give him invincible ignorance because of that.
I wanna say something
but
about.
of course, Awaken. But Awaken, if you want to say something relevant about that, of course you can. But I'm just saying, just forget about this because these niggas not debating with us right now, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to say such a thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, go ahead, Awaken. Go ahead.
Awaken.
I'll let Tron go. Tron.
Okay. Can you respawn it back? He said something fucking completely stupid. Hold on. Which I think we already established.
I'm going back.
Okay.
Real world deals with parallel universes. Now, this is just only speculation and a theory about how parallel worlds would work. But we don't actually have
the only
evidence
possible
to
way
suggest
they
that
would
this is
work
actually how it is. That's
in
why it's called
context to Dragon Ball, which is why the parallel worlds exist objectively.
Yeah, also, exactly, because think about it. If Toriyama, okay, now, we're not sure if Toriyama actually had all the knowledge, but Toriyama had the knowledge of parallel universes at bare minimum, and then he has the knowledge of time traveling, creating paradoxes, okay? That is some basic regular knowledge that everybody has, right? Okay, basilar knowledge, alright? So, if the only type of time traveling that we know in real world is the second one, and Toriyama is basically he just had his own normal conception of time travel. It means that Dragon Ball time travel is based upon Toriyama's conceptions.
Exactly.
And Toriyama's conceptions are based on the only single way of time travel that we know in real life. That is another reason why it has the many world interpretation and quantum mechanics.
Exactly. So go ahead and unpause it.
Any world interpretation, right? This is not what's actually being shown within the series,
Okay.
and that's why
Okay, that's why we
I
show.
find it utterly
Unpause it.
Let him finish.
Yeah, let him finish. Let him finish because he's
being
not cooking.
shown within the series, and that's why I find it utterly baffling that people would go out of their way to say that this instance right here was talking about Dragon Ball when the interviewer literally says, "Can you tell me about the latest parallel world research?" None of these
Okay.
guys.
Okay, so when he. Okay.
That's ad nauseum at this point.
No, this is another slothful induction, and
And
yeah, hold on. This
ad nauseam.
yeah, this is a slothful induction, and this is a straw man upon the scan because I want to emphasize on this because as we originally said, with Cecile's analogy of asking your mom, like, Mom, how can I do the dishes? By scrubbing the fucking dishes. So that's why I scrub the dishes. Okay, so go. Okay, that analogy, it works, but it was ass. So if you scroll down, right? If you scroll, oh, hold
You're
on.
gonna have to cut it out of the video. You're gonna have to cut it
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna cut that out. But anyways, the question, he followed up on the question, right? And said that's why something works like this, and he said precisely, right? So that was literally in context to Dragon Ball. I don't know why, like,
I don't know. Yeah, so this is also an ad nauseum and circular reasoning because he's constantly circling back to that same exact point as well. So this is also just an argument by repetition.
yeah. And
Yeah.
what
And what
the
so
questioner?
in fact,
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna dismiss this via Occam's razor as well. So
Occam's
yeah,
razor?
Go ahead. Occam's razor.
Well, the point is,
Yeah.
the point is that he followed through the question to confirm something happening within the verse. So you can unpause it. Like, he's not cooking.
Are actual staff that have authority on what Dragon Ball says either. So, as I showed you, this is just a random cosmologist that
A
has
random cosmologist.
read through Dragon Ball, and then
There's no need, let's just play the video because Disney
Yeah.
is just repeating himself. Yeah.
the guy interviewing is just like a technical illustrator that happens to write for other websites. So he's just a freelance writer that goes to other companies to write articles for them.
Okay, genetic fallacy.
And when they talked about this instance, right here, it's not in regards to actual Dragon Ball that's going on. And even then, to kind of prove that this actual cosmologist doesn't know a lot about Dragon Ball, they start to go into whether or not instant transmission functions like a time machine. In which the interviewer asked, listening to everything you've spoken so far, I thought of something else I'd like to ask you about. After his battle with Frieza, Goku travels to planet Yardra where he learns to use the instant transmission. I have a feeling that instant transmission works in a similar way to time travel. What do you think? It's exactly the same. If you interpret instant transmission as movement faster than the speed of light, then planet Yardra must have found a way to overcome the gravitational restraints. Now, if you remember earlier, they're talking about how
Wait. How is that relevant? How is that?
How's that?
Okay, so how is that relevant to the many worlds interpretation being the only possible interpretation of being within Dragon Ball? And we also have proof of it from Bulma's.
I got no idea, and also Profit is literally a conditional and hypothetical statement. If you interpret instant transmission as movement faster than the speed of light, then planet Yardra must have found a way to overcome the gravitational restraints. And it's not really true because he also says then that maybe they're using negative matter, negative mass, something like that. But the point is that doesn't really make sense because we know for a fact that in Dragon Ball instant transmission is used by ki, and ki has nothing to do with mass or matter, so
Yeah.
I still don't see, he's not even saying that this is how it works in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
He's saying if you want to interpret in that way, then this is the conclusion that you get. So regardless, it doesn't have any type of relevance with what we're saying with the speech of Dragon Ball having the many word interpretation and quantum mechanics and so on.
Yeah, it has no correlation. I don't know if he's doing this to try to dismiss him or something.
It's just grasping at straws.
Yeah. So go ahead and unpause it.
Fashion the speed of light or do so. And that's what the professor's trying to know here. But obviously, time travel doesn't work in that same way. So again, there's just many things that just go against the whole like infinite universe thing, and this is their only evidence for it.
Which he didn't establish.
That supposedly the official Dragon Ball website claims that infinite universes exist within Dragon Ball, or infinite timelines do, but they don't. And
Okay, so pause it. So
again,
the reason
this
why.
Amazon-
So let me explain the reason why the Dragon Ball website put this article on here. If you read the very top, how do time machines work? Asking an expert about time travel in Dragon Ball. They put this on the Dragon Ball website for readers to understand how time machines work within Dragon Ball. We do have evidence that many worlds exist within Dragon Ball, and we have a preponderance of evidence. While he's just contradicting himself, we have a preponderance of evidence that points to this conclusion.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
look
I
at
think
this
what he-
nigga. Wait, look at this nigga. This nigga's trying to get some money by using I don't remember the name, but basically it's a service where you put a link and it gives you a different link. So every time that people click on it, it's gonna give you some money or something like that.
Oh, okay. So he's
Look at this bitch, bro.
so he's making
Look at this bitch.
he's trying to make money off of
Yeah.
toy
Yeah, bro. word.
breaking copyright laws.
Copyright laws?
Hold on.
It's not, no, that's not breaking copyright. What the fuck are you saying?
Oh,
bro?
no.
It's not breaking copyright, but yeah, but no. Basically, okay. So if the original link is you see it's n.dragonball dragonballofficial.com/news. Okay, so that's the official link. You basically pass this link in a website, and this website gives you a different